Where do I begin? Okay, so I have just finished watching the Christmas special, 2017 Christmas special of Doctor Who, Peter Capaldi's final episode, and fingers crossed the last episode Stephen Moffat will ever write for Doctor Who, because although he has had some really good episodes, the Weeping Angels, Blink, that's what it's called, Blink being the pinnacle of everything he's written, which is one of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who. A lot of the other stuff, let's just put it, Moffat is pretty bad most of the time. I would say his success rate is maybe 30% of the stuff he's written is decent. Stephen Moffat, thank you, but goodbye. Okay, but let's talk about the actual episode, and I have to say, disappointing is the biggest thing I could say about it. The best thing I can say about this is disappointing, because there's so much wrong, but there was decent potential in this episode. So, I'm gonna start off positive. I'll start off positive, get the things I liked about this episode out. So, Peter Capaldi, as always, was brilliant. I'm so sad to see him go, and although he was a bit wibbly-wobbly with his ending speech, just going all about the place, but I feel like that was the point, a bit of fan service to, just throw off some of the classic lines. So, apart from that, brilliant, and I'm so sad to see him go. I'm so sad to see him go. It was nice to see David Bradley. That was good. Pearl Mackie coming back as Bill, and it actually makes sense. I'm not pissed off that, oh look, Bill's come back just for the sake of it. There was actually a point behind it, okay? And the Testimony, who are the villains? They're not really villains, but they're somewhat of an antagonist for the Doctor to start with in this episode. But I really like the idea of the Testimony. I didn't to start with. I was like, I don't see the point, but now, thinking about it, and having seen the end of the episode, and all that had to entail, I like the idea of the Testimony, and the fact that someone is actually... I like to feel like they were inspired by the Doctor to do this, especially with Bill's speech at the end to the Doctor saying, you're not the only good person in the universe, there are other people who want to do good as well. So the Testimony are, I think, a really good idea. Apart from that, the last thing I liked, Jodie Whittaker, okay? Jodie Whittaker, she says 2 lines in this entire episode, are brilliant. When she looks into the screen to see that she has regenerated into herself, and it's brilliant, okay? It's a nice introduction. I don't like the kind of... I didn't like the fact that it was kind of, oh look, it's just another Matt Smith kind of deal with the TARDIS breaking apart, but she actually fell out of the TARDIS, so it kind of makes sense for the teaser trailer that they had for her to introduce her, where she finds the TARDIS. I feel like that may have had something to do with it, but I liked that, and I do like the fact that she might have to actually find the TARDIS in her opening episode. So those were the good points. Now, the bad points. It was boring as fuck. Come on, that was... I mean, if you enjoyed that, fair dues to you. I honestly did not. There were some bits that piqued my intrigue, like, what are the Testimony? What was this great database that the Doctor was going to find? And what's the whole situation with the Captain? All 3... Okay, Testimony aside, the other 2 just disappointed me. Okay, so he talks about going to see the Matrix as the big database in the universe, and then he says, not even the Matrix could do that, there's something bigger. So you automatically think, okay, he's gonna go see the Daleks. Then they arrive on that planet and it looks all destroyed, and you're thinking, probably still the Daleks. And then you see these spider-like creatures attacking the Captain and crawling around the place, and you're like, okay, this might actually be something intriguing. Is there an old enemy that he says they've mutated. Is there an old enemy that's mutated into something different and is now, you know, some great big bad? I don't know. But you actually get intrigued. You're like, oh, it might not actually just be the Daleks. It's just the Daleks. Okay, it's not the Daleks. It is Rusty, the good Dalek from I believe a series 7 episode. I believe it was Peter Capaldi's first season when he went inside the Dalek. I believe that's what the episode's called, Inside the Dalek. And it was kind of just a cheap man's Dalek, the actual Christopher Eccleston episode. It was still a good episode. I enjoyed that episode, but this, like, I was expecting it to be the Daleks, or at least a Dalek, and it was, and it disappoints me. I know it's nice to have that kind of throwback to Peter's first season, but you could have had something a lot better, and it's just boring to just throw the Daleks in there. You see the laser beam and you're like, it's the Daleks, and then it might not be the Daleks. It's just... And then there's the whole, what's the reason behind the captain getting trapped in time? And it really breaks the plot apart if you think about it. Okay, so he's meant to be extracted to die at the time he's meant to. He's extracted before he's deaf to record his memories, and then they are placed back in to their death situation so they can die. But their memories are stored as the testimony. That, I think, is a great idea. Why does he get trapped in time? That's not really explained. They say it's because both versions of the Doctor were trying to die. They were trying... So two of the same person trying to die at the same point. But why did that stop time for the captain? Why did the testimony not... Why were they not able to just take the captain? That's not really explained. I mean, if I missed something and you guys want to let me know down in the comments, please do. But I don't feel that was explained at all. And if it wasn't explained well enough for me to understand it. He's just kind of frozen in time for the point of it. I mean, at the end, it turns out he's the Brigadier's dad, or I assume it's his dad. So it's the Brigadier's dad, and, you know, that's nice to keep the Lethbridge Stewart line going and have that whole, you know, they're kind of connected to the Doctor in that way. And that's a nice thing, but I just don't see... It's kind of like he was forced in, really. And I feel like him as a character, he doesn't really do too much in this plot. Like, he's the reason the testimony are there, but that's about it. They're there for him. And the Doctor doesn't want him to die at his... Why does he end up in the South Pole as well? Because if you listen to it from the beginning, it kind of sounds like he's meant to die at the South Pole. The testimony say as if he's meant to die at the South Pole, but he's not. He's meant to die on the battlefield in World War I, but why does he then appear at the South Pole? Surely the Doctor trying to die twice at the same point isn't going to stop him, isn't going to mean he's going to suddenly be at the South Pole. That just doesn't make sense, and it's kind of Moffat just throwing things together for the sake of it. So, the whole plot just doesn't make sense, and like I say, it just disappointed me throughout. Everything that had potential to be something great was just thrown away, and then, as the biggest smack in the face that this episode gives us at the end, I'm going to call it the testimony capsule that is portraying Bill, then kisses the Doctor to show him what memories mean, and gives him his memories back of Clara. So, what was the point of the Doctor losing his memories of Clara in the first place? I'm not frustrated that they have memories of Clara, because they would have extracted the memories of Clara from when she dies off in the future, because she doesn't die in the series. We've not seen it on screen, but at some point Clara dies, so they extract her memories then. But what was the point of the whole Hell-Bent episode? Hell-Bent was probably one of the worst season finales ever. Everyone hated it, especially from, I believe it was Heaven Sent, or I can't remember. Heaven Sent, that's it. Heaven Sent was one of the best starts to an ending ever. Hellbent ruined it, and this episode kind of just says, yeah, fuck Hellbent, fuck the whole point of Hellbent, the Doctor saving Clara. If they had just left her death as it was originally, this would have been a hell of a lot better, because the whole point of Hellbent is now thrown away! Oh, Hellbent was annoying, but don't just slap us in the face like that by saying, you know what, we made you suffer through Hellbent. We're gonna practically eradicate the whole point of that episode even existing. So, oh, mamma mia. And then probably my biggest gripe with this really fucks with the whole message of what the Doctor was giving to transition into there being the first female incarnation of the Doctor. You'll hear a lot of people say, oh, there'll be sexist comments, there'll be people saying they don't want a female Doctor, or they don't think that the Doctor should be female. But the way they go about portraying why in this episode is having the first Doctor say really old-aged, borderline sexist things. But that goes against the whole point of Time Lord culture. The Doctor says to Bill in the last series that Time Lords have evolved beyond gender. They have no point for such a primitive thing. So why does the first Doctor have such old-aged sexist views? He shouldn't, because he's a Time Lord, and in Time Lord culture, there's practically no thing as gender. He himself should know that, because he's at least 400 years old. The first Doctor is at least 400 years old, so he knows that his own people can swap between being male and female. They have no point for gender, so why does he think that women clean... Now, I haven't seen the first series of Doctor Who, so maybe the first Doctor did have those views back in that time. I don't know, but I feel it goes against the whole point of... the whole point of transitioning the Doctor to female. Like, we're saying it's not a big deal, okay? The role of the Doctor should be open to everyone, regardless of gender. And then you go and... the Doctor realises that there's a difference between gender. Oh, I learned in the next 1500 years that gender's meaningless. But... It just frustrates me. Because obviously it's not ingrained into Time Lord culture when the Doctor left that there's no gender. Or maybe the Doctor was one of a small percentage that were sexist. Somehow. How you can be a sexist Time Lord, I don't know, because you can end up regenerating into something that doesn't even look human. Look at the Master, for instance. It's just... I feel like this episode was a mess. This episode could have been great, and I feel like they wasted the first Doctor. They wasted the first Doctor. David Bradley is almost the perfect recreation of William Hartnell. But they just wasted it, in my opinion. I felt it was boring, confusing, and just all-round frustrating. And to be honest, I feel it might even be one of the worst episodes of the season. From what obviously, these thoughts are very fresh and raw at the moment, but if I was to name it now, I'd probably say it was the worst episode of the season. Just, what was that? It could have been so much better, and I feel so sorry for Peter Capaldi, because he goes out on a low, but fingers crossed that the new series, with a new Doctor and a new showrunner, we can actually get something good going. So, yes, alright guys. That's my thoughts anyway. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below. And, yeah. Allons-y.